Hello guys, today I will be on the beginner's course and you will have Axel with you, but I will do the briefing right now over video based on the inputs and observations that I had also from AXO and based on the topic that we have for today. So first of all, it looks like we're gonna have 3 teams today. So maybe one team is incomplete, but soon hopefully we're gonna get one more person. So that's already very good. And 2 teams you have already practiced last time, sales streams. So today we're going to look with you in a little bit more advanced topic. But I think it is really important that guys, Ville and Ricardo, who come on this training, sales streaming the first time, will repeat something that we did also last time, because this is essential. So let's start now with repeating the basics from last time and then also briefing Ville and Ricardo about the essential topics. So when it comes to sales stream, I think first what I want to focus on the correct positioning of the sales at all times, at any point of sailing. And it just doesn't matter what kind of setup you have with your sales, what kind of small nuances you have, if your sales positioning is incorrect. So that's what I want you first to focus on. And we'll be just focusing on the correct trim at all points of sailing. So as you just basically remember that regardless of the point of sailing, you need all the time adjust the sails. So when you're sailing upwind, you need to take them in. When you're sailing beam reach, you need to take them a little bit more out. And when you're sailing downwind, even more out. So but the question is like how much out or how much in you need to take. And there is always only like one perfect position in here, and all the other positions are a little bit too loose or a little bit too tight. So I want you also just to practice today to be really focused and start to recognize on it. So first of all, I think what you need to do is just to have a clear crew roles, who is doing what. So skippers, right, is not just sitting there and advising everyone how to trim the sails, but actually steering the boat steadily one direction in the exercise, and then also telling how, for example, the rudder feels, if it feels too heavy or too light. The task of each of the trimmer, main trimmer and jib trimmer, is just to look at their sails very attentively. So now in this practice, we have our attention inside the boat. So not really looking outside, well, of course, observing the safe sailing, but mostly focusing on the sail stream. So attention inside the boat. And when you have this, as I said that there is one perfect position, and that would be the goal of the main trimmer or jib trimmer all the time, to keep the sails in that perfect position. So obviously you have if there's only one perfect position, then you have a position which is a little bit more loose and a little bit more too tight. So if it's too loose, usually you are able to see that one by the flapping sails. And you will be able to see that the sails start to flap at the front part of the sail. So you always observe when you see that the sail starts to flap a little bit, you take it a little bit more in. In the lighter winds like today, it's a little bit more difficult just to see when the sails are too tight. In the stronger wind, you will see that the boat starts to heel if you're over tightening the main sail. But in lighter wind, you might not notice the immediate effect. So it's important then just to also recognize when the sail is too tight and you are stalling the sail. One particular thing is, if you're in doubt, just let it out. So let out the sail if you think it's too tight, and then once you start to see it start to flap, then you can take it in. So all the time kind of attentively playing, regardless of the point of sailing that you are sailing with. On the jib, you have small things called telltales. They're 2 pieces of rope, and that are attached to the sail, and then you are able to use them to trim the sail. So it works this way, that if you over tighten the jib, so if it is like that, so then you will have this telltale, which is inside, will be streaming back, but this telltale on the other side of the sail will be in the wind shadow, so it will start to fall down. So then you know that you basically need to release the sail. Opposite is also true if this is your ideal position, but you're having it a little bit too loose, and it's so just a little bit too loose that it's not possible to see the yet flapping of the sail. But then you will have a little bit like kind of bubble appearing here, a tiny one, so you will still have the telltale streaming on the outer side of the sail, but on this side it will start to fall down. So then you know that you need to take the sails in. So when you are just trimming this, so the telltale is also used for steering the boat upwind. That's what we'll just maybe talk separately. But in today's exercise, it will be used quite a lot by the trimmers to adjust the sails. That's the first thing to focus. And another thing is for you guys to focus on the balance of the boat. I want you as a crew to work on keeping the boat really at the even angle all the time. So ideally it should be as flat as possible, and but also for the beginner skippers it's very difficult to steer if the boat is completely flat. It's very difficult to feel this heeling or the tension on the rudder which appears from the heeling. So I think I want you just to all the time have a little heel of the boat and all the time control it with your weight. So if the wind becomes strong and the boat starts to heel more, you move your weight to the opposite side. If the wind starts to be too light and the boat becomes flat or even having a opposite heel like that, so I want you to move the weight to the side. So just to keep and maintain this like nice and even heel, maybe you will find maybe about like 5 degrees max. So that will give a good feeling of on the rudder for the helmsman. And remember, this movement is not 1 and 0. It's not like you sit here or sit here. You can also, especially in the lighter wind, adjust your position slightly. It can be here or here or here or here, and usually it's a jib trimmer, the one who goes first down, and then there is, if necessary, the main trimmer, and the helmsman is the last one, just to go maybe to center line, not necessarily to the opposite side. But yeah, some teams have different preferences, but usually in majority of the like racing teams you would still have the helmsman to sit on the 90% of 99% of the team will still have them skipper sitting on the top side. Okay, so that would be the first topic to practice, and I think you today will have quite individual practices. I would also advise to actually just what was said, but I think what you guys can first, so the team of Ville and Ricardo, so what we can do is sail the figure eights around the buoy. Slow figure eights, and make sure that you don't like sail like that, figure eights from one to another, not there and back, but make a really like nice figure eight. And at each moment of the sail, so the trimmer, you need all the time pay attention to constantly changing the trim. So once you then done with that one, I think then you can sail upwind, downwind, and also do the stream. So it's according to the same course that will be set by Axel. So that's the essentials, and I want you first guys to focus on this. And if the other teams, if you feel that you are not maybe too comfortable from the last time about these basics, you can still also try to warm up with this practice of figure eight, just to get your control of the sails important. So remember, no matter how good is your nuances of your trim, if you don't position your sail in the right position, it just doesn't matter. So first of all, really good positioning of the sail. So now for the teams which were last time. So once you already adjusted the basic positioning of the sail, I think important characteristic of the sail that you need to focus on is the twist of the sail. It's a very powerful, and I would say that after the positioning of the sail, it's the second most powerful adjustment of the sail that you need to, of the trim of the sail that you need to pay attention to. So why do we need, and what is the twist of the sail, and why do we need it? So in order to understand these things, you need to just, let's recap what is the thing called apparent wind. So imagine you're in the boat and there is absolutely no wind. It's a motor boat. You turn on your motor and start going forward. As you start to go forward, you will start to feel the wind coming from your face. So it's the wind generated by the movement of the boat. Okay, it's clear. If we take, again, we stop, this wind disappears. So while you stop here, then you start maybe already to have a, like, you know, the new wind comes and you have a side wind here. So you start to feel that the wind is coming from your side. Okay. And then you, because of the wind on sailing boat, or maybe just because again you have an engine, you start to move forward. So again you will start to have this wind that comes to in front of you. So because of the movement of the boat. So actually when you sail, you have two combination of two winds. There's a true wind, which is for real, or one which is regardless if you move or not, and there's a wind which is generated by the movement of the boat. So resulting wind is actually somewhere in between. So this is how the kind of, when these two winds are combined, then I'll just put it like that. When these two winds are combined, you have a resulting wind coming from somewhere here. And that's what is called apparent wind. That's what you trim, what you feel. And that's what you need to trim the sails for. And the apparent wind can also change. So imagine if the wind, if you suddenly start to put a little bit more gas in your engine, so this wind will become a bit more stronger. So resulting wind will be a little bit from here. If you slow down and this wind becomes stronger, obviously the resulting wind would be a little bit more from here. So it's a pure geometry, and that's how the apparent wind changes. So why do we need to have twist on the sail? Is because if we have a boat sitting like that, the wind which has come from the side is usually very different. It's a little bit less at the surface, and as you go higher, the winds become stronger and stronger. Especially it's very pronounced and noticeable in the lighter wind because there is more friction with water. So even 10 meters higher, you have already significantly noticeably stronger wind rather than on the surface. So, which means that at the bottom of the sail, you will have a wind, because you're still moving forward, you will have a little bit weaker wind. This one would be a little bit weaker. So the wind will be like that at the bottom of the boat. Not the bottom, but at the deck level. But as you go up the mast, just because this component becomes stronger, the wind shifts over here. And that's why you need to adjust the sail. You need to change the direction of the sail. As we talked about, it always needs to be pointing that correct to the correct angle of the wind, but you need to change it on the different heights. And how it's done, it's usually done with what kind of trying to achieve controlling the leech, the back part of the sail, and doing the twist of the sail. So this is, for example, a very good demonstration. So if this is a twist, if this is a mainsail, that would be the mast, the sail is fixed, and this is the boom. So when you move the boom, you move it to the right and to the left. So when you release the main sheet, you can move the boom different direction. But also as the main sheet pulls the sail boom down, up and down, then it also changes position of the boom in this direction. But because here we have a mast, it's a fixed mast, so when you pull the boom down or pull the boom up, what you do is that you are changing the shape of the sail. So as you move the boom up, your sail starts to be a little bit like open, and the leech is to kind of starts to be loose. So as you pull the boom down, you straighten the leech of the sail, and you see it's just now straight. So that's how you, for example, on the mainsail, control the twist of the sail. So what you do is for example, if you would release the main sail a little bit, main sheet, so the boom will, with the pressure of the wind, will come up a little bit. And from here now you see that the angle of the sail is different to the wind on the top and on the bottom. So on the top you have it a little bit more open, and that's what, for example, you want to achieve when there is a big difference between the winds on the top and on the bottom. So if there is not big difference, it's a nice steady wind, you pull the main down, you close the leech, and you see now from here the angle on the top and on the bottom is almost the same. So this is kind of like the theory that what you want to do, and you in practice what you will now will do is you need to watch that the telltales attached to the back of the sail, that they are flying. I think that it depends again on the winds and conditions and the flatness of the water, but let's start with the basic kind of like bench or kind of like rule, is that 50% of the time this telltale should be on one side, and then 50% it goes to another. So you have a telltale which is kind of like first it goes back, and then sometimes because of turbulence it goes behind the sail, and then again on this. So you want to start with a 50-50, and you adjust by opening and closing the main sheet. So that's the mainsail. So now if I take the jib, so this is the jib, now the wind is coming from here. You need again to control the leech, the tightness of the leech and twist of the sail, and it's done usually by the, again, tightness of the main sheet, but also by the positioning of the car. This is the sheeting point. So if you are putting the car sheeting point like that, so that it's much more forward, that the sheet is pulling down, so it means that every time you pull the sheet, you are mostly tightening the leech, the back end. So then you are closing the leech, and as you said, as we discussed, then the angle will be the same at the bottom and at the top. If you will move the car position more to the back, then it means when you tighten the sheet, you are tightening the foot of the sail, which means that then this leech becomes more loose, and then it will open up and will create a difference in angle of between the top and the bottom. And because here you have a telltales, you're able to see, you have 3 different telltales, you're able to see how the position of your car affects on on the basically the telltales. So it means that, for example, if you will be able, if you the ideally what you want to achieve when you have a twist is that when you release the main sheet, that all telltales will start to flap at the same time. So if there is only one telltale starts to flap earlier, for example the top one, then you need to adjust. So it means that you have an incorrect twist for this wind conditions. So I know, very advanced topic, but it's very, very important once you get the basics right. So twist is very, very powerful. Right, so this is one topic, and I think also quite one good observation from Axel last time, from the previous practice, is about controlling the twist on the downwind. So if this is if you're going downwind, when you open the main, you just completely fully open on the downwind and the wind pushing it. So you cannot control the boom position by main sheet, because the moment when you will pull the main sheet, the main will come inside again. So what you do, you control the boom position and the twist of the sail by kicker. So if you have kicker too loose, what will happen is that the boom will shoot up. As you see, you have a really big twist in the sail, and it's also not very easy to do the jibes. So what you want to do is just to use the kicker to control the position of the boom on the downwind and have a correct twist on the downwind. We will look at the downwind and correct twist in the other training, but just make sure that at least now you will see if it is like that, that doesn't look very right on the downwind winds, and also if you feel that there's sometimes in stronger wind it's difficult to jibe, it's usually because you have a really too big twist on the mainsail on the downwind. So use the kicker to get it a little bit more down. So I don't know, maybe you have it like from something like 80-70% as a starting point on the downwind, and then we will look at the nuances how to trim it on the downwind separately on the separate training. Okay, so I think as for the practice, we'll just discuss with Axel how to do it better, but I think again the attention will be quite a lot inside the boat in the very beginning. So 2 teams which will focus on the twist after you do the warm-up, maybe about the figure 8. I would recommend then to maybe have a really long course first. So maybe I ask Axel just to set, and actually today the wind is light, so it doesn't have to be that long because it will take you still quite a while in the light wind to go up. And go again with just like one tack, so that you will have a long passages. And as you go upwind, try to focus on the on trimming finding the correct twist. And for this purpose, I need to have a cooperation with helmsman. Helmsman, keep the course. Just keep the good, steady upwind course. Don't look at the sails. Don't look at anything else around. And I think look again, just for safety, look around. But if you start to wobble the course all the time, then it's very difficult for trimmers actually to start playing with the nuances of the sail. And then once you keep the course, I want the mainsail and jib trimmer all the time to work on the sheet. So with the mainsail trimmer, you need to work on the correct positioning of the main so that the top tail will be flapping 50% there and back. With the jib trimmer, I think you need to work a little bit more by releasing and tightening the main sheet, the jib sheet, and seeing how the 3 telltales, if they start to flap at the same time or one of them starts to flap earlier, and then adjusting this with the car position. So I think do this one first, and maybe at the end of the practice, I want maybe all of you boats, if possible, make a start, one start, and sail quite close to each other, so then you can see, well, quite close, but so that you're not affecting the wind so that you will be able to see again for quite a long time whose trim is better. Because basically this is the essential thing. In order to have a race, you need to have the best trim. Once you have the best trim, then it's easier to follow any tactics if you're faster than any other boats. So that's a very important thing to start with. I think that's basically brings me almost to the end of this briefing, and the last topic just to mention to all the teams now here is we talked about the positioning of the crew to keep the boat from heeling. So you have, or actually necessarily to achieve the heel. So if on the light wind you all the time move the weight one way or another, or start hiking to keep the even heel of the boat. But in the light, so also especially very important for the boat speed and the trim is your position in this way. So basically the rule of the thumb, at least that you would need in the beginning, is that if the wind becomes stronger and you need to start hiking, so apply the force to prevent the boat from heeling, then you want to sit as much as close as possible close to each other and in the middle, because this is the widest part of the boat that is most easy to counterbalance. However, if the wind becomes light, I think it's important to, in many boats, to get the back of the boat. So if you have like that, back of the boat, the stern, as much as possible out of the water, so that the water line would be something like that, so that it would reduce the friction. And well, this is of course very exaggerated, but the idea is the same, so that you try to move weight forward, and of course controlling if necessary, the heel of the boat. So that's, I think, it for today. So hope you all guys have a really good practice, and we'll see you next Friday.